In this video, we will be discussing about preamble, which is one of the most important topics in Indian polity for the prelims, mains, and interview. In this video, we'll be discussing about what does it mean by preamble, and we'll also discuss about whether preamble is part of the constitution or not, whether preamble can be amendable or not, and most importantly, we'll also discuss various Supreme Court judgments attached with the preamble. So as you could see on the screen, my name is M.K. Reddy, and in this video, we'll be discussing about preamble of Indian Constitution. As you could see on the screen, is the preamble of the Indian Constitution. We, the people of India, this provides source of the Constitution. So who wrote the Constitution is the people, and this sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. These provide nature of government, the kind of state, the kind of government that will be having will be like a democratic government, republic government, will be a secular government, socialist government, sovereignty will be there. So these things are provided in the preamble, and these are the objectives that we collectively has to achieve in the society. In independent India, first and foremost is justice, liberty, equality. These are inspired from the French Revolution. Uh, Fraternity, liberty, equality, fraternity are inspired from the French Revolution, and we all know that justice is one of the essential part of the modern day societies, democratic societies, and these are the objectives and goals of the society. And this preamble also provides the date of adoption, 26th day of November 1949. This is the date of adoption, and most importantly, whether this constitution is for whom, it is for ourselves. It is what for ourselves. So preamble provides the information regarding nature of the state, the objectives and goals of the society, and most importantly, the date of adoption. All these things are provided in the preamble. Preamble was inspired from the objective resolution, which was started by the Jawaharlal Nehru in 1947. This objective resolution outlines the kind of things that has to be kept in mind while formulating the constitution. For example, it will be a democratic society, it will be a sovereign country, there will be a respect for international peace and international laws, and there will be a harmony in the society, and there will be a secularism in the society. These kind of things, there will be equality, liberty, freedoms, justice. These were there in the objective resolution. After completion of writing the after completion of constitution by the Constituent Assembly, the makers of the constitution got inspired, and they adopted this subject resolution as a preamble of the Indian Constitution 1949. In 1950s, there is some lack of clarity whether preamble is part of the constitution or not. Whenever there is a need of interpretation of the constitution, any provision of the constitution, then judiciary takes an initiative. Judiciary is empowered to interpret the constitution. And in Berry Union case, there was a challenge the Supreme Court whether Parliament or government is empowered or is it having sovereignty to give away the territory of India to foreign countries. So while addressing this issue, Supreme Court said preamble is very important. Whenever there is a lack of clarity regarding any provision of the constitution, this preamble would be used as a source. So whenever there is ambiguity with respect to laws, with the help of preamble, that ambiguity could be clear. But it did not. It said that Supreme Court said that preamble is not part of the constitution, despite being despite being very important for the constitution. So here comes the second case, and it is called as Sajjan Singh. In this case, Supreme Court said While addressing in this case the 9th schedule and 17th Amendment Act, the 17th Amendment Act was put in the 9th schedule by the Parliament, which deals about land. There was a challenge in this suggesting whether Parliament is empowered that much to curtail the power of judiciary. So while addressing this, Supreme Court also addressed whether preamble is part of the Constitution or not, and it said we have to rethink about the earlier judgment in very case that preamble is not part of the Constitution, but it did not conclusively say that preamble is part of the Constitution, and uh, say that preamble is not part of the Constitution, despite giving it a thought. In that most important case, Golaknath case, Supreme Court said preamble is not part of the Constitution. What? Preamble is not part of the Constitution in Golaknath case. However, in 1973, Supreme Court, while addressing 29th Amendment Act, which was put in 9th schedule, which empowers Kerala government to take away the property of Keshavananda Bharati. This person, Keshavananda Bharati, challenged this 9th schedule thing, and Supreme Court, while addressing this issue, gave that preamble is part of the Constitution. Preamble is what? Part of the Constitution. And it also said that preamble is very important. It is having very important value. So in this case, it is clarified that preamble is what? Part of the Constitution of India. And later judgments in 1954, while addressing Article 356 usage by the Parliament, it said that it has to be used sparingly. And it also said that preamble is very important, and it said that the basic structure can be defined by looking at the preamble. So basic structure could be defined by looking at the preamble, and it declared that preamble is having utmost value in SR Bommai case. And and there comes another case in 1995, LIC of India. In this case, there was issue regarding equality. Article 14 was challenged. There was a policy of LIC which was discriminatory in nature. Only certain government employees or those who are having a good job profile only could get the benefits of the scheme. So this was challenged in the first High Court and later in Supreme Court. Supreme Court said it is a discriminatory, and in this case, Supreme Court said preamble is very important part of the Constitution. So it is clear that Supreme Court in Keshavananda Bharati case, SR Bommai case, LIC of India case declared that it is part of the Constitution and very essential. So I would like to ask a simple question: is preamble part of basic structure of the doctrine or basic structure? The answer is no. Preamble is not part of basic structure doctrine. However, what is basic structure could be defined with the help of what? Preamble. For example, take unity and integrity. It is part of the basic structure. So to define what is basic structure, Supreme Court or judiciary can take the help of what? Preamble. So preamble is having what? Utmost value. So if it is part of the Constitution, then is it amendable? So from the earlier cases, in the Berry case, since it is not part of the Constitution, preamble, and Golaknath case also. So if it is not part, so there is no power of using 368 by the Parliament. So the Parliament can use 368 only to the Constitution. Since it is outside the Constitution, cannot amend the preamble. So in Golaknath case also same, cannot amend the Constitution. Supreme Court did not exclusively say this, but we can infer from these two cases. However, in Keshavananda Bharati case, since Supreme Court said preamble is since part of the Constitution, so it can be amended. except basic structure. Other parts of the constitution can be amended. This is the voice of the Supreme Court in Keshavanti Bharati case in 1973. So, since there are no any limitations, 42nd Amendment Act amended some parts of the preamble, and it used 3 words like secular, socialist, and integrated. These words were added to the preamble. And 42nd Amendment Act, you all know that, is also called as a mini constitution. So, 42nd Amendment Act curtailed judicial review power of high courts and brought so many changes regarding to emergency. So, all these major changes which are brought by the 42nd Amendment Act were restored, removed by the 44th Amendment Act. However, this 44th Amendment Act did not touch the amendment to the Constitution, this amendment to the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Why? Because in 1978, the government is having majority only in Lok Sabha, and it did not having so much of support in Rajya Sabha. And majority of the government, Janata government, which is in power, is so much aligned with the philosophy of secularism, socialism, and integrity. So there is no any issue except L.K. Advani, Rajnath Singh. Apart from these two, everyone is so much aligned with the philosophy of the newly inserted words. So there was no any problem with the 44th Amendment Act. So preamble remained the same. And there comes another important case that gives so much of clarity. It is called as a Minerva Mills case in 1980. In this case, Supreme Court said that the power to amend the Constitution is limited and limited in nature, and this cannot be unlimited, arbitrary. And it also said that the space structure also can be amended, but this power of the series created by the Parliament is what? Limited. So in this case also Supreme Court said that preamble could be easily be amendable. Since in Keshavanti Bharati case, it is clarified that preamble is part of the Constitution. It could be easily amendable. It could be amendable by the Parliament with the help of using Article 368. So Parliament exercised its power in 1976 through 42nd Amendment Act, and it it added these 3 terms to the preamble of the Constitution. It added socialist, secular to the preamble, and integrity also. So here comes the question: is it needed? Is it needed to amend the Constitution as the nature of the Constitution is changing? Per se, so far 105 amendments happened to the Constitution. So much changed ever since commencement of the Constitution. Per se, Supreme Court clarified that federal system of government is part of the basic structure, and most importantly, parliamentary system of government is part of the basic structure. These are not mentioned in the preamble, since preamble is what? Summary or quick overview or introductory statement to the Constitution. So there is a need to amend the preamble as per the changing nature of the Constitution. So, however, this amendments to the preamble has to be reasonable. It has to maximize the value of the preamble and spirit of the preamble, nature of the preamble, and not the minimizing the philosophy or scope of the preamble. So there is a greater evaluation, and there is a need to update the preamble of the Indian Constitution to make it look identical to the philosophy of the Constitution. And thank you.